It's my feel-good breakfast show.
So in the world of nutrition and dieting, the big talking point right now is the low-carb, high-fat, high-protein diet, or more commonly known as the Banting diet. Now, we know that it's good for you, but a lot of people have been asking Andrea on her Facebook page whether, which vegetables are high in carbohydrates, which ones are low. So we thought we'd do a broad sweep of some vegetables, or at least the most of which we could get onto one table and talk about these. So Andrea, I think most commonly we know potatoes. These are high in carbohydrates, but they do fall under a certain kind of family, right?
That's correct. We've spoken about how important veggies are for our diet a lot, but in terms of people's dietary choices, some people are following this low carbohydrate diet, and hence I get all these questions. So today I'd like to show, in terms of actual grams of carbohydrates, three groups of vegetables. The high starch vegetables, so they've got between 11 to 20 grams carbohydrates per 100 gram. That's the group over there. Then in the middle, we've got between 5 and 10 grams, and then below 5 on this side.
Yeah.
So I think let's start on the below 5, because these are really super low in carbohydrates.
Yes,
all
and
these
super
veggies.
good for you as well. I mean, if you look at the greenery that's going on over there, and we've spoken about a lot of these vegetables as well.
That's right. Now, if I had to follow a low carbohydrate diet, which I'm not doing, but if I have to give advice to somebody that is, these vegetables are extremely low in carbohydrates. So we know that things like spinach and lettuce obviously contains hardly any carbohydrates. But surprise, surprise, there are some veggies that are really nice and soft if you cook them in winter and give the idea of comfort food.
Yes.
Like baby marrows, gem squash, patty pans, cabbage, etc. That can really be incorporated as almost comfort food feeling vegetables, but they're still low in carbohydrates.
Yes, okay. And then we move on to the middle section, which would have been my personal choice of vegetables, the beetroot, yellow peppers, and butternut as well. I would have chosen this, but this falls under the medium carbohydrate.
So if we once again look at the carbohydrate content of veggies, which naturally range between about 0 and 20 grams per 100 grams, these have 5 to 10 grams per 100 grams, so they're slap bang in the middle. And often people think of butternut as a starchy veg, and this analysis show you as a fact that it's not a high starch veg.
Yes, yes.
It is in the same group as your yellow peppers, beetroot, onions, and fresh peas. I must add, if these had been dried peas, they would have been on the high carbohydrate side.
How is that?
Just because it's more concentrated and they generally riper, etc. But if it's fresh baby peas from your garden, they're still in the intermediate or medium content of carbohydrates.
Yeah, so if you're trying to balance it out in terms of your high protein, high fat, low carbs, you'd be eating smaller portions of this middle group.
That's correct.
Than you would of the first.
So the first group, which is all these delicious salad-looking ingredients, tomatoes, cabbage, baby marrows, etc. These are your extremely low carbohydrate veggies. These are the medium ones. So it's your onion, beetroot, butternut, etc. And then your high starch veg contain between 11 and 20 grams starch or carbohydrates per 100 grams.
So now we're reaching towards the limits.
Yes. So if you had to follow a low carbohydrate diet, those are the ones that you would probably avoid at this stage.
Or eat very, very small portions of, if you were to have a spoil. I mean, what's a weekend braai without some mealies, corn on the cob, on the braai?
Exactly why.
Irritable met kaas, daai tipe goed.
Which is exactly the reason I can't follow a low carbohydrate diet. I love carbohydrates. So I love potatoes and sweet potatoes and corn. So during the time that you're trying to cut down on your carbohydrates, those veggies are the ones with the highest count of carbohydrates.
Yes. Okay, so in closing, when we're looking at this Banting diet, that is, once again, the talking point right now in the world of nutrition and dieting, in your professional opinion, is it the one kind of sweep-all diet that can work for everyone?
Definitely not. There are so many different types of diets, and lots of diets incorporate healthy principles. So if the diet plan that you choose encourages you to eat more fresh produce, less processed foods, less deep-fried foods, etc., I say yes, that's a good one. And there's not only one diet that suits all body types and all health states, etc. I mean, some people have high cholesterol, or some people are diabetic. So especially if you're diabetic and you want to make radical changes to your diet in terms of carbohydrates, speak to a dietitian first. There's big risks. I had a client the other day asking me, can she go off her insulin now? insulin is the medical treatment for type 1 diabetes because she's following this diet. And I said, absolutely not, because that can be very dangerous. So if you want to make radical changes and you've got a condition like diabetes, speak to your doctor or dietitian first.
Fantastic. Andrea, thank you very much as always. Much appreciated. So we are all about building healthy families, and it starts, of course, with making the right kind of food choices. And as Andrea said, speak to your dietitian first. And so make a first stop on facebook.com and follow at Andrea Duplessis, Vital Expert.
Trust Vital for your family's health.